Hi everyone, happy Friday. Oh my God, I'm so thrilled it's Friday. Fridays are just great, aren't they? I had a lovely long run this morning with some of my running friends, and yeah, just a great start. I just love Fridays. Anyway, welcome to today's Flushing Friday, where I'm introducing, as you know, speakers who will be at the Menopause Success Summit on the 25th of September. And as you know, if you haven't already seen the posts and so forth, it's a one-day virtual online event, not Zoom, okay? And today I'm going to be introducing and chatting to the lovely Emily Power Smith, and then after that I'm going to be chatting to Lavinia Winch. I just thought it was easier, just split them up because they're both big subjects. So Emily, in case you're not familiar with her, is actually Ireland's only clinical sexologist, and Emily is 50 and she is going through the menopause herself, and she enjoys, as she would say herself, a thriving sex life, and she runs a really successful practice where she teaches, she trains, she writes, she speaks on sexual pleasure throughout all life stages. So not just menopause, all of life stages. And what I love about Emily is the fact her approach is fun. Just, you know, she's just so honest, so honest, which is absolutely fantastic. And you'll get a sense of that today when we speak to her. And at the Menopause Success Summit, her topic is sexual pleasure, the ups and downs, the ins and outs of sexual pleasure before, during and after menopause, because the chapter is the end of everything. When menopause hits, far from it. Just as we know, it can be about getting, you know, resolving the symptoms and making progress that way, and then things just settle down. So I'm just going to check there to see where she is. Emily, hang on now. Okay, here we go. Our request there, because she's been ringing me, but I think she's maybe not too sure about the Instagram lives. So it's, do you know, it's probably one of the biggest symptoms that I come up with on a daily basis is, you know, in relation to libido, whether it's because of physical changes that women experience, or whether it's simply, you know, as a result just of a complete drop in libido. And so it's really important to kind of understand what the different aspects are, what's happening, and then what you can do, because there's so much that you can do to actually make sure that you thrive during these years, as I always say. And I think the big thing is really, it's just empowering yourself with the knowledge, because once you have that, it really does set you up for all of the symptoms of menopause, and no more so than when it comes to sexual health. So, you know, we'll have a chat about it today, and Emily will tell you a bit more about her background. Here she is now, so I'll send her. There you go. So she'll just explain a little bit more about her background and her interests. Hey, how are you?
Hello. Can you see me okay?
I can see you fine, and I did a nice introduction to your background and your work and everything that you do while we're waiting. So to make sure everyone, I'm sure, I think, Emily, everybody knows you, because, you know,
Yeah.
you're the guru.
Well, I'm always popping up any chance I get, like a good erection, you know.
Well, the fact you were in Tommy Tiernan says a lot, doesn't it?
If only I'd actually been on Tommy Tiernan, but anyway, I can always dream.
So here, tell us. I was explaining about the fact that you are in menopause yourself.
I am.
You know, but do you want to just give us a little bit more in terms of your interest, you know, in the area?
Well, I just, you know, I run a private practice, working with all sorts of people with all sorts of challenges and questions. And so a lot of the people who come to me are women who need help around menopause. So not only am I going through perimenopause myself and experiencing some of the joys and the challenges of that, and understanding it from my own lived experience, I think is really makes me realize all the things that you talk about, Catherine, so well, about how it's not represented, about how we're so badly educated around it, how we are expected to just get on with it and this is our lot, and how we all so many of us live with myths around menopause. I think it's just become very, very important to me that these conversations happen, and that women can not only educate themselves, but I think what's equally important is that women have a platform to share and to connect with each other, because a lot of what I hear is the feeling of isolation and embarrassment and shame that comes from lack of education and not knowing where to go for your information. And people like you coming out and speaking so openly and really not giving up. It's what I love is that it's not just a conversation that happened a couple of years ago, which is more how it would go if I was doing it, because I'm not great at keeping conversations going unless people like you keep me talking about it, which is brilliant. It's normalizing, isn't it? And it's becoming easier to talk about and more acceptable that we go through this really challenging, is it a rite of passage almost at a different part of our lives? I think it is. Yeah.
And I really believe that in a very, as you know, the positive side of it, but all of that comes with the getting a handle on the symptoms. And that's one of the things that really, when I was, looking at the Menopause Success Summit, it is all about giving practical tools, tips, information, so that women can walk away from it and actually feel like the weight is lifted off them and they know where they can go. So tell us a little bit about, so you're at the summit, you're going to be talking with Trudy Hannington from the UK, which I think is just going to be brilliant.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm so excited. Trudy is my I have two clinical supervisors, neither of them are in Ireland, because I'm the only sexologist. So she is my guru. She is someone I go to when I need a little bit of help and I need someone who's way more experienced and knowledgeable than I am. So I'm really excited to share her with everybody in Ireland, to let women see just how things are done a little bit differently in countries where they have been on this longer. She works every day with a doctor who specializes in sexual medicine. Again, very, very rare in Ireland to find someone who specializes in that. So she has a really great handle on the medical side of sexual pleasure and well-being. And from a menopause perspective, that couldn't be more important, because we need to understand how any medication we might be on by middle life affects our sexual well-being and pleasure. And also we need to be armed with correct and current information on what we can ask for from our own doctors, because we may be the ones who need to educate, which is a sad state of affairs, but it is the state of affairs. And rather than wringing our hands about it, let's do something about it. So Trudy is incredibly wise, very kind. I have a great laugh with her. She's bold, which she'd need to be for me to get on with her. And she's incredibly knowledgeable and really down to earth. She's a northern lady, so she speaks like some Doncaster, speaks like that, I lived in Sheffield for a number of years, so I really love that part of the world. And I just think people should come along with questions that they might feel, oh, is this for a sexologist? Is it for a doctor? Yeah, they are for her. She's going to have the answers for you. So please don't hesitate to ask the most complicated or smallest questions that relate to the medical side of sexual well-being. She also does all the other stuff as well. But that's where she really teaches me a huge amount.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And I think, it is interesting what you're saying, in relation to the education, because as you know, it's part I'm really passionate with. And listen, Emily, like I've met and I work with some fabulous GPs who are really going above and beyond in terms of trying to, get the knowledge and whatever. But and many of them are putting their hands up and they're just saying, look, we're trying to learn, and we have to understand that they're trying to cover babies through to geriatric, and it's menopause is one life stage. So I just think it's important that we remember that as well. But what I would say, and I know I was working with a woman very recently, she knew exactly what she wanted to do, what route she wants to go on, and she went to the GP. She had it all printed out, and the GP was like, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. And I know she said at the end she actually ended up giving the GP my email address because the GP was like saying, my God, this research, this is just brilliant. Because it was just to try and empower her so that when she in that she knew what she wanted to ask for, and she kind of knew what her options were. And I just look, that's a shared
That's
passion.
it. Yeah, exactly. So I agree with you. There are wonderful doctors, but there are some that really aren't wonderful, and we also have to not paint everything with a sparkly brush. There are people who are really, I've never heard of that expression before, I just made that up, who really have struggled and do struggle, and they need our support. The ones who are seeing the great GPs are very lucky, but I want to help the ones who are seeing people who get thrown, the women who get thrown an antidepressant to cover as the answer to all their issues around menopause, that kind of thing. That they know that that's not good enough, because even that isn't commonly known, that that there are other options. So that's what we're doing, isn't it? That's what we're working so hard on. I love that there are GPs that are getting more on board with it. Of course, it's wonderful. They're not given enough training, so they do have to go looking for it separately and on top of everything else they have to do. So it's not an easy task for them.
I think this is where that piece with Trudy is going to be really brilliant on because we're going to be covering it from different angles. So I think that's going to be really, really great. Just in terms of, tell us, I know, I'm sure, Emily, knowing you, I'm sure you've several, but any nice, funny menopause story, myth you'd like to share with us?
Nice, funny ones? No.
There's no children watching.
Not so much nice, funny ones, but I guess the most standard one is that sex ends at menopause. That is the end. That is the time we so for people who haven't really enjoyed their sex lives, it's a great relief to know to hold on to that myth. And if that's what you want to do, that's okay as well. I don't encourage anyone to be sexual in a way that isn't amazingly pleasurable for them. What's that about? There's no point in that. So but equally, if you do want to have a great sex life, either beginning now for the first time or continuing, there's so much, as you know, that we can do to help that. So it's that idea that everything needs to shut down now, and we just need to let go of that beautiful part of our lives. That's the myth that is the strongest and the most prevalent, I guess. I'm sorry I don't have any funny ones, really.
I know. Well, we'll have more of them. We're going to have those dotted out through the day. Success.
You probably know some, do you?
Oh, I know many. Well, I can tell you one related to your subject. I do know this 52-year-old woman who had a few menopause symptoms, nothing major, but libido was one big one, and it had just kind of crashed. And she was told that that was the end of her sex life, finished, done. And so she went home and she told her husband this. And her husband called GP, which I thought was brilliant. And he basically said, no, we're not taking this as an answer. Because she look, there was other, she had some anxiety and so forth, but she really wasn't comfortable enough to kind of, be empowered enough, I guess, to stand up. So her husband actually rang the GP and said, we're not taking this as an answer. We're only in our early 50s. What are you going on about?
Right.
So, Marianne, totally good for him. Like, I was just like, how amazing is that? So basically, now the long and the short of it is they did change GP, and they've got the right treatment or whatever. But I just kind of thought, fair dues to him, because it's not a partner would do that. Anyway, that's just one story, but there are many. And in relation to the summit What topic are you interested to hear about on the day, Emily? Or what area?
Interested to hear about.
Hmm.
I'm particularly keen to get up to speed on the latest hormone therapy, because I'm not far from it, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm on the button with it, and that I well, besides advising my clients, I want to be able to avail of it myself, because I'm very interested in
Bioidentical.
identical therapies, and to learn a little bit more about that and where they can be obtained. And I'm really keen on learning about also about the neuroscience of menopause, our brains during menopause.
Dr. Moscone.
Because I've got the brain fog, I've got the perimenopause memory, or lack thereof, you know, where you can't find your car, you can't find your glasses, you're wearing them, you know, all that crack is going on. So I'd like to learn more. That really interests me. Actually, well, everybody you have has so much that I'm interested in learning. I've met some of them, I've worked with some of them, I've heard some of them speaking, which is the reason I'm not naming them, but those are the two that really fascinate me. And I'm really interested as well to hear Annie O'Neill speak about how gut health contributes to hormone health. And I think that's a really, really important one, because it puts the power back in our hands to know that if we work on our digestion, we can actually have all these amazing knock-on effects. So that's really...
There was a great study just came out this week from UCC, Professor John Crane, who does a lot of work in this area. Actually, I was trying to find the link that I want to share it, but that's going to be another great aspect. So, like, I think when we looked at what topics do we want to cover, you know, I went out to my following and everyone came back, and that's how we based it. But and you know what, Emily, all of the topics that are there came back, really resonated with everything I'm seeing every day. You know, explain HRT, demystify it for me. Tell me nutrition I can do, go through the sexual health aspects, you know, like everything, sleep, brain fog. So I do think there's definitely other topics that, you know, we couldn't fit in there for the next time, but you know, we've a huge amount on the day. And I think, actually one thing just to mention is that there's a early bird at the moment, which is a 35% discount on the tickets. So I would really encourage anyone watching to grab your tickets before those before the early bird offer goes. So it's a brilliant reduction at the moment, 35%. So if you can, just check in over the weekend and nab your tickets, because look, it is going to be brilliant. It's going to be full on practical, that you walk away with practical advice from every single talk. And I'm making that my mission, that I can say that after every single one, you've got at least 3 practical steps that you know you can take that will kind of just change the trajectory for you. And it's all about just empowering you with knowledge and wisdom.
And I think it's really important as well what you're saying, that, you know, you only need 3 to start with. You only need 1 to start with. You don't have to do menopause and be brilliant at menopause, you know, because that's just more stress and exhaustion on top of already adult people. One thing at a time, you know, you start with 1 bit of information and it takes you to the next bit. And once you have a couple of bits under your belt, you have more confidence to keep looking. So I think it's really important, because this summit is so packed with amazing people and information, but just not to feel that, oh God, now I've got to take on all of these different things. You don't. And I think what I want to bring to the summit is the thing I want to talk about most is pleasure. And kindness. And these are the things that more and more I'm realizing are often missing in our sex lives. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it, that sexual pleasure is taking a back seat a lot of the time to performance and obligation, particularly around this age where women are a little bit stuck. Ticking the box, no pun intended. It is It is that, and I think we can really get back to, it doesn't matter if you never want to have penetration again. It doesn't matter. You can rewrite your script now. You can decide what is pleasurable for you and take out those boxes that need ticking on some magazine article or something. This is just about your personal journey into pleasure with yourself, whatever that means for you. And I think if we start there, we can only go into gorgeous places with our sexuality. So that's the main thing I want to focus on for the summit. It's something just to say that I focused on I did a podcast with Sheila Shoga. I know you've done that as well. And that's a lot of what we were talking about. And I think the first one of mine is going live with her either this evening or tomorrow. So it'll be a little bit to meet out what we're going to be talking about at the summit as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. A top tip going into the weekend, Emily?
A top tip going into the weekend. This is my new favorite toy.
Oh, wow. We've seen that.
It's on my Instagram, just a picture of it just to represent the toy. But this is called the Tantus Rumbler.
Okay.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Ever so slightly.
Can you hear it now?
Oh, now I hear it. Yeah.
So this toy is lovely. I love it because it's a mini wand. It's a nice ergonomic shape. You hold it like that onto your vulva. I love the size of the head because it's got a wide head. It covers a lot of your vulva. It's really lovely for massage and for bringing blood and oxygen and energy to the whole of your internal clitoris. That's the clitoris. So it's the whole of that rather than just the tip. For women who are getting a little bit older and whose blood flow has slowed down, I think a wider, a bigger head is good. This is external only. And the rumble is the important part, I think, as we get a little bit older as well. Rather than going for the higher buzz, I'm into the deeper rumbles. So the hint is in the name of this.
And the deeper rumbles, the deeper rumbles, not on your cheek, Emily, please.
Oh, you're not meant to use it there? I wondered why I wasn't getting an awful lot out of it. You know that joke about the nun who got the vibrator and knocked all her teeth out?
But the deeper rumbles, just to say for anyone watching, is really good for blood flow. And blood flow, we know, is really, really, really important for our pelvic area in menopause. It is so essential.
Exactly, and it's what we need to get our erections inside our internal clitorises, which I'll be talking about at the menopause as well. So for the localized orgasm, just at the little knobble of the clitoris that we can all usually find that's external, you can go for a higher buzz. But if you want to really encourage blood flow into the internal clitoris to get a full erection in there, a deeper rumble is more important. The rumble is rarely spoken about. Usually we hear about power and noise, but it's the depth of the rumble that I think is most important. And this is a lovely toy. It's body safe. It's made by Tantus. You can get it on intimate.ie.
Okay, brilliant. Is that a new site, intimate.ie? I'll check that one out.
It's quite new. It's relatively new. It's good because it has a wide range of toys. It has a lot of body safe toys, but it has a wider range of toys than Sex Shopper would have, which is all her stuff is body safe, but it has a smaller amount. So if you don't want to be overwhelmed with choices of toys, Sex Shopper is great. But if you want a wider range, and this isn't sold on Sex Shopper, it's sold on intimate.ie, and I love it.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to tune out now because I'm going to
the next person
live with Lavinia. So thanks a million, Emily. And
great to see you as always.
Yes, and looking forward to hearing that podcast.
And thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all that you're doing. I can't tell you enough. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Bye.